Round 26 of NRL Fantasy is in the books, which means you either just had your head-to-head grand final, or you're in a league that's set up a bit weirdly, or you're preparing for the final round, the overall race for that top spot. Now, a couple of coaches up there fighting for it. Shout out to Jay-Z, a friend of mine who's sitting close to number one spot, if not number one spot right now. So exciting times for him. Now, let's get into this. So we've got the Cowboys and the Storm up first, 38-30, very high-scoring game. For this one, Tyron Wishart was the man of the hour. 91 fantasy points. He had 2 tries. He had 5 goals, a bunch of plays here. So 35 tackles, run meters, kick meters, all of the above, right? Pumped out a massive score. And Wishart's one of those guys who, when he's been given the chance to start, no matter what position, he's been pumping out big numbers. Now, 91 here. If you started him this week, you're very happy. And he probably gets a start next week, I would expect too. My guess is the Storm will rest a couple of players, maybe Cam Munster or someone different there. And Wishart's going to get a run in that team. So start him again next week. For the rest of the game here, Valepu was really strong in this game. He's not going to get the minutes going forward, but he was really solid. And then down the list here for the Cowboys players, they had a good game in terms of getting a big win here, but the fantasy scores weren't massive. So Val Holmes, 42 points. You can live with that, but with the try, you hope for more. Ruben Cotter played 70 minutes, only scored 34. And then down the bottom of the list here, I will shout out Scott Drinkwater. A few people did captain him, and he's been having a cracking season this year, but that's not a score that you want to see in the captain column. It's not a score you want to see there at all. One of his lowest scores of the year. So it's a rough go for anyone who captains Scotty Drinkwater. Now, we'll keep rolling through here. So the Dogs and the Seagulls up next. Again, another high-scoring game. And for the Dogs, Jacob Preston returned to form. 79 points in this game. Only played 62 minutes, but still, 79 points. You'll absolutely take that. He was quiet last week. He came back, and he got the job done for you. Big run meters, big tackles, scored the try, no negative stats. It's a big one. So if your player can go out there and they can do a bunch and hit no negative stats, that's always a good sign. The numbers really do add up quite quickly. Josh Adokar, this is one we could look at next year potentially. He gets cheap at certain times of the year and becomes a relevant buy, but you never want to buy him at full price. So 72 is great, but probably not a target for me. Then Ruben Garrick, 66, back to form. Love to see that. DCE, 60 points. Again, the run meters were quite low this week, so 34 run meters, but the kick meters bounced back. So he's been seeing sort of 250-odd kick meters recently. Let's jump back to 600. That's the number we want to see for Cherry Evans because that is his solid base. You throw in a try assist, some other attacking plays, and you're in a great spot with Cherry. Reed Marnie back to form. 2 tries in this game, 49 tackles. You'll love to see that. And then rolling down the list here, Ola Kawatu, 48 is okay. Josh Curran, 47. Again, it's all right coming off the bench there. And then down the list here, have we got anyone else we want to talk about? Karaz, 36. Just no tackle breaks in this one for him, unfortunately. Still plenty of offloads and meters. Matty Burton, quiet game in this one. Only the 51 minutes, but 34 points. So, again, PPM was okay. It's just the lower minutes, your problem there. Then going down to the bottom here, have we got anything else that we want to talk about? I'll tell you what, Kohler, at some point, if he gets a fullback spot or, maybe you're back and take the leap next year, he's going to get nice and cheap. So he's one we should keep an eye on as well. I will say Saab, he's probably out for a decent period of time, if not the year. Wait for updates on that one, but Jason Saab, it's not looking good. Leg injury there. So if you have him, I think he's going to be out for next week. All right, rolling through Panthers and the Bunnies. So for the Panthers and the Bunnies, again, big game here. Panthers put on a show. Isaiah Yeo had the try and the try assist in this one. 5 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, 170 meters run. No negative stats again, except for 1 penalty. 85 points. He is getting it done, Isaiah Yeo. He has been unstoppable. I will point out that they have a matchup next week that I think is a bit more favorable, and I think he might get a bit of a rest in that game. So just keep that in mind. He's a guy that I would be reconsidering captaining for round 27, but we're going to look at that in more depth this week. Luai bounced back, 64 points. Alamotti came back in, scored a 61. You love to see that. Lindsay Smith, Fisher Harris, all good there as well. Fisher Harris grabbed another try. That's back-to-back week, which is pretty exciting. Damien Cook, 47 points, 78 minutes. Pretty regular. Just didn't have the big attacking plays that you need for the bigger scores for him. And then down the list, who have we got? I mean, Liam Martin, solid. Dylan Edwards, 37. He's been pretty disappointing for us who have brought him in. I'm sure he'll light it up, and you'll see him in the finals. He'll crank out 80 points every week in the finals again, but just not going his way for fantasy right now. Brian Toe, 31 points. Again, pretty quiet for him. And then down the bottom list here, Jai Gray, 27 points. Again, you look at the stat line here, it's 69 run meters. That's the issue, right? So you have 11 tackles there, which is Too many tackles for him. But the 69 run meters is the problem. So if you're a fullback and you're getting anything below about 150 run meters, you're just not getting the opportunities to create tackle breaks, offloads, and attacking plays. So for Jai Gray, there just wasn't that opportunity for him. Down the bottom of the list here, Jack Whiten, 24 points. Again, 34 run meters. He's a guy who thrives on the running game. Koloamatangi, 23 points. A lot of us saw him going back to lock, and I don't know. I thought he was he wasn't in our captain segment by any means, but I thought he was going to bounce back as a non-owner. I thought he would get back to some bigger minutes, and 25 tackles, 95 meters, no real attacking plays, 23 points. It's not ideal if you're a Koloamatangi owner. Cody Walker, again, Bunnies were shut down in this game, so Cody was as well. And then down the bottom here, Isaac Tungo, 12 points. Really quiet one, had the 5 missed tackles, had the error as well. Just no big attacking plays for him. So Tungo is one of those guys where it goes his way sometimes, but no, Cleary is bad news for Tungo, and he's gone back to some quieter fantasy numbers. Now, this game was a mess. Parramatta versus the Dragons. As a Para fan, you can probably tell that it was quite taxing for me. So for Parramatta, 44-40, they've won this game. They were up, what was it, like 44, let's see, if I try, about 44-10, 44-12. I think it was 44-12 with 10 minutes to go. And the Dragons scored 5 tries in the last 10 minutes. Now, if you own Dragons players in this game, you probably benefited a lot from that last 10 minutes because I was looking at one of my draft leagues. I saw the scores looking really low for my opponent who had Dragons players, and they lit it up down the stretch. Tyrell Sloan was one of those guys, top 5 scorer for this week. 96 fantasy points, absolutely massive. 2 tries, had the 2 line breaks, a line break assist, 6 tackle breaks, 5 offloads, 250 run meters. Most of it was down the stretch there as well. Sloan absolutely lit it up. He's very cheap. He's a guy who next year, if we have a look at it and we think he might take the leap, he's going to be pretty affordable round 1 next year. So it could be a pod you look at. Micah Sevo is another one. Now, Sevo, 89 points here, and you can't expect 3 tries every week, but I'll tell you what, 3 tries, 4 line breaks, a try assist, and you've got a bunch of tackle breaks, basically no negative stats here too. Micah Sevo is a guy who, if you think Parramatta are going to bounce back next year, he might be a guy you target because he had a bit of an off year this year. Still scored a lot of tries, but it's been very injury interrupted this year, and Para haven't been at their best. So if you think Para push back into being a top 8 side, Micah Sevo is a guy you could target as a pod. Dylan Brown's another one, 77 points, went off, scored a try, had a bunch of try assists in this game too, lit it up. Could be a good option against the Tigers next week as well. Now, that spoon bowl game, basically the battle for the wooden spoon, it's going to be big, and I think Dylan Brown's going to be a big part of that. Could be a captain option you look at as well as a bit of a pod. Then going down the list here, Zach Lomax got a 63 points, grabbed the try. Again, late points for Lomax really saved the day here. Jaden Sewer, DeBellin, Gutho, Lane, Moretti, Campbell Gillard, all in the 50 plus to 60 sort of category there. Rolling down the list here, Ben Hunt saved his score with a 47. Ofa Hangawi, we mentioned him a bit. 56 minutes is a bit lower than usual, but 174 run meters, just putting himself in a great spot to get big fantasy points. Going down the list here, Luciano with a 40. We've got Blaze with a 40 as well. Jake Tungo came back in, scored a try, 35 points. I needed him in my 17. So, he was a nice little late inclusion because I lost Keeney on the Sunday. But, I took his 35 points on my side. And then down the bottom here, we've got no one relevant. I mean, Bryce Cartwright, 19 points. That's really quiet from him. Ravalawa came back into the team. I thought he might go a bit better, but 16 points is quiet as well. We'll keep on rolling through here to the next games because there were some really fantasy relevant pop-offs and some disappointments as well as we go through. So the pop-off here, top scorer of the round, Herbie Farmworth, 110 fantasy points. Sitting in my center spot there, I love to see it. Look, and I'm highlighting a few pluses. My team was a bit of a disaster this week. I didn't have the full 17, but Herbie Farmworth was a rare, bright spot for me. 2 tries, 2 try assists, 3 line breaks, 2 line break assists. You got 7 tackle breaks, 3 offloads, nearly 300 run meters. Just an unstoppable performance from Herbie Farmworth. Went up against his old club, came out and said, hey, here I am, and just showed them up and all but ended the Broncos season. So Herbie Farmworth, he took it personally and he put up a massive score in this game. Now, Payne Haas came back. Again, a massive performance from Payne Haas too. Love and respect what this guy does. He's going to be a guy that's in my team round 1 next year, 100%. I'm a big Haas fan. In this game, he played 75 minutes, scored 91 points. Going through the stats here, nothing remarkable, so nothing that he can't replicate every week. 42 tackles, 6 tackle breaks, 5 offloads, 2 forced turnovers, and 117 run meters. Now, no negative stats except for 1 penalty there. I guess the big outlier here is probably the 42 tackles. He's probably not going to make 42 every week, but with the ball in hand, he can dominate like this whenever he gets the minutes like this as well. Hammer bounced back as well, 71 points. He's been a bit quiet lately. Bounced back, lit this game up. A couple of massive tries from the Hammer, and he's just a highlight reel. Going down the list here, Averillo moved to the half, scored 2 tries, popped off. Carrigan scored a try as well, grabbed 61 points. Corey Jensen, ever reliable with a 59. Trey Fuller came in, grabbed a 50. And then down the list here, Max Pluth. Bit of a return to earth, but you take 46 every day of the week. Sean O'Sullivan grabbed a 40 in the starting side. If O'Sullivan gets a start next year, he is a must-buy option wherever he goes. Going down the list here, we've got guys like, who else are we going to look at? Xavier Wilson, I think he misses a week now. Adam Reynolds, 27, back to earth for him. Missed some minutes here as well. And then down the bottom of the list here, Jeremy Marshall-King played less minutes, scored 21 points. Jordan Ricky, 19, really quiet game from him. Tristan Saylor, again, back to earth there as well. 18 points, had a big game last week. Pierre Kura, 13, went off early in this one. Karapani, Stags, also some lower scores. Stags did go off early in this one too. And Isaiah Katoa, 5 points, 8 minutes. He was on the bench for most of this game. So, can't really think about that too much. Now, rolling through to the Sean Johnson send-off game, and what a fairy tale this game was. This was beautiful, right? Sean Johnson throws the pass for the winning try on full time. Absolutely love to see it. Top fantasy scorer in this game as well, 77 points. And I just want to say, I'm not wearing a hat, but I take my hat off to Sean Johnson. What an absolute legend of the game. Our fantasy MVP for last year. This year has been a bit disjointed. You can't really talk about it too much because plenty of injuries were sort of hitting Sean this year. But last year, he was our fantasy MVP. And right now, he's the MVP of this game as well. So 77 points, the 10th highest score of the week. Let's look at these stats here because he had some goals, 3 try assists, 2 line breaks, had the line break assist, 3 tackle breaks as well, 176 run meters, absolutely massive, 503 kick meters. Now, Sean Johnson won in this game. There's no other word for it, right? I think the whole Warriors team really lifted down the stretch there too. So you love to see it, especially with Cronulla, who, Sean did spend some time there as well. So Johnson, legendary career, great score here. Fanua Blake rolling through, and we keep on rolling in fantasy world. Fanua Blake, 60 points, 61 minutes, really solid from him. 211 run meters, 4 tackle breaks, 3 offloads. You love to see that. Adding that up, by the way, that's 40 points, right, with ball in hand, and you got 25 points in defense. You lose a few points here and there. So that's with no attacking stats, which you love to see for Fanua Blake. Cam McInnes got a few more minutes here, 55, grabbed 60 points. Big game for him. Nick Klokstad played in the centers in this game, 59 points. If he moves to center, could still be an option we look at. Teague Wilton grabbed a try, 55. Watani's Lesniak, he's had a really quiet year for fantasy, but grabbed a hat-trick in this one, 55 points. Tuapiki, if he ever gets the full-time fullback role, he's a beast, 54 points, 200 run meters, had a bunch of attacking stats here as well. Then rolling down the list, Stone Street, another double there. Stone Street's killing it. Lair Tower, I'm a big fan of him. A lot of base stats here. So 10 tackle breaks, 172 run meters, 10 tackles. Had the line break, of course, but 49 points in mostly base for a center. Fantastic. Nakora, 80 minutes, 47 points. And then rolling down the list here, Trindle with a 44. Iro, 38 points with the try. Bit of a return to earth for him. Going down to the bottom here, Nico Hines came back. Played 80 minutes, scored 33 points. If you got in this pod, look, we talked about it. It was a real boom or bust option. I don't think he was fully ready for the return in terms of, coming back from injury. He's probably still just dealing with that a little bit, as is shown by 88 run meters, 148 kick meters. There were some nice Hines moments in this game, but not enough to get past that 33 points. Now, one thing we'll look at here too is next year, that 62-point average, it'll change next week as well. But he's coming to next year with a lower average. Could be an option we look at as a bit of a cheapie. Depends if we like him next to Trindle next year. Rolling through this list here, Egan came off the bench, scored 27. And then down the bottom here, Barnett, his form has really come to a screeching halt at the end of the year. So 25 points in 36 minutes. Just a quiet one from Barnett. And rolling down to the bottom here, guys like Atkinson at center. Just a quiet game from him. He's much better in the halves. Now, if you do have Warriors players, they are on a bye next week. So that was your last game from them. Hopefully you had Sean Johnson, Fanua Blake, a few of these guys, Nickel Klokstad, and not the guys down the bottom. Now, rolling through to the game, sorry. What was the final game? No, second last game of the round. So Knights and the Titans. And for the Knights, big fantasy performances all around. So Dylan Lucas, Callum Ponga, 2 of the top 10 scorers of the week. Ponga was my captain this week. Now he had 2 tries, 2 line breaks, 11 tackle breaks, 200 run meters. He was on fire in this game. Could have scored even more. There were a few attacking plays where they nearly came off where could have been even more Kalen Ponga points. I was okay with 78 points as captain until I remembered that I had Isaiah Yeo as my other captain option. He scored 85. So, Ponga's score was good, but Yeo's was better. That's what I'm seething about. Now, Dylan Lucas came in as well. He's popped up a couple of big scores in a row. 79 points here, played the full game, had a bunch of run meters, bunch of attacking plays here as well. Set up a try, didn't get the try assist because he wasn't the last pass who set that one up, but it's a really nice line he ran where he threw an offload to Bradman Best, who then found Kalen Ponga on the inside. So he's playing some really good footy right now, Dylan Lucas. Rolling down, Jaden Campbell, bounce back game from him, just did it all across a bunch of different categories, so heaps of attacking stats, tackles, tackle breaks, offloads, forced errors, run meters, kick meters. Jaden Campbell does absolutely everything, and 72 points is a reflection of the game he had. He was really dominant in this one. Fletcher Sharp, another hat trick. He is one of the most prolific try scorers right now on the wing. He's absolutely killing it. And I'll tell you what, I think he's probably their long-term winger. That's what I'm looking at there. Bradman Best came back, scored a 63. If you've got trades left and you're right at the end of the year, it's a pod option you could look at. Now, the Knights are playing for that final spot. So if I'm looking at Bradman Best, we'll talk about it this week, but he's been on fire this year. And he's a guy who can genuinely score 100 points any given week. Yeah, if I was desperate this week and I had a trade, which I wish I did, Bradman Best is the guy I'd definitely look at. Now, rolling down the list here for feeder, grabbed a couple of tries. That's Jojo, not David, unfortunately. Rolling through, we've got Jaden Brelly, 80 minutes. Again, got back to what he can do. Gagai, solid score. Guys like Elliott, Thompson, Jones, all some big scores here, some attacking stats too. Bo Firma, 46. And then rolling down the list, who else do we have that we want to talk about? Greg Marzu, 38, no attacking stats, so you can live with that. 250 run meters is absolutely huge. Chris Randall moved to the edge, 33 points, a bit quieter, just less tackles than he expects in the middle. And then De Groot, good game for the young guy. Grabbed a try in this one. 31 points is not crazy for a fullback, but 180 run meters and a try. You live with that, and good on him for a great game in his young career. Dave Fafita, 63 minutes, 28 points. And you got the 22 tackles, 7 missed tackles. You got 120 run meters with 2 tackle breaks, no offloads. Dave Fafita's fantasy form is pretty much off a cliff right now. It's a tough one because he's a good footballer, but just doesn't seem to have those plays opening up for him right now. So I don't know. You got to start Fafita this week, but I wouldn't be considering him as a captain option. We talked about it a bit last week. I'm not a big fan of him as a captain down the stretch. I'm definitely sort of vetoing that call now. I don't think you can captain him in round 27. Now, going down to the bottom of the list here, is there anyone else we want to talk about here? Campera is a funny one. So, Campera, I'm a big Campera fan, by the way. If you look at him last week and he was a top 5 scorer of the week with 80-odd points, comes back this week, 17 points. We've seen the same thing. So, Jojo Fafita, he had the same sort of turnaround. This Titans team, they're producing a bunch of points in the outside backs. The issue is that it sort of spreads around, so you never know who's going to get the points. If you could pick a whole back line, the Titans would actually be a good one to take because they just have so many big, explosive plays. Now, Chookies and the Raiders the last game here. And for this one, the Chooks, tough game for them. Really tough game for them. They had some bad injuries happen in this game. So Sam Walker, Brandon Smith, not looking the best. We'll see how they're shaping up. Hopefully they can get back for the finals. If not, hopefully it's not major and they're, back on the field as soon as possible. But for the Chooks, Joey Manu did step up, 65 points from him. Just a bunch of stats across the board. Heaps of tackle breaks, offloads, run meters is his big thing. James Tedesco, 62 points as well. 250 run meters is always good with 10 tackle breaks, so he was on fire. Joey Tarpanay, Morgan Smithy through the middle, absolutely killed it with about 60. We've got Tupou, Terrell May. Terrell May is PPM, by the way, absolutely insane. 57 points in 45 minutes for Terrell May. The Chooks are missing a few guys as well, so I think he'll be solid next week. And Horsburgh and Young, solid scores here too. We love Hudson Young, 56 points. He's killing it down the stretch. Connor Watson got more minutes in this one, played some half, played some hooker. My guess is he'll play hooker next week. I think he's one of the top scorers next week. That's one of my calls. We'll see how it pays out, but I think he'll be one of the top scorers with big minutes at hooker. Kiri stepped up, so Kiri is now that dominant half for them with no Sam Walker, which means Kiri is interesting. If you're in a draft league that still plays next week, he's a guy you could look at as a potential option in that league. Nat Butcher, Michael Jennings, Gus Crichton, all pretty solid here. We've got Savage Levi, and rolling down the list here. Anyone else we want to talk about? Cook stepped in, kicked a bunch, didn't do too much else though, so only 35 points. Dom Young, ball didn't go his way as much, 29 points, a bit quieter for him too. Tom Starling, 25 points in 47 minutes. Unfortunately, we need bigger minutes and we need less than 10 missed tackles for him if we want bigger scores. I will just shout out too, by the way, guys. I know we talk about missed tackles a lot in fantasy. Often the missed tackles aren't a reflection of the player's defensive capabilities. So often a missed tackle is actually a positive defensive play. So I just want to make a point. When I talk about a guy having too many missed tackles, I'm talking about for fantasy. We can go through play by play of these 10 missed tackles. I'd say a lot of them would be good pressure. Reed Marnie in particular does this, by the way. He sort of rushes out of the line, puts a bit of pressure on, and makes a good play, but it counts as a missed tackle. So for fantasy, unfortunately, it's not differentiated, and we have to cop the minus 20 of that one. Now, rolling down the list here, anyone else we want to talk about? Jordan Rapana, I think his season will be done. Looks like a HIA. That should be him. KO Weeks, really quiet one here. Moved to fullback, wasn't good for his fantasy scoring. And then down the bottom here, no one we really want to talk about. Just hopefully Sam Walker's all good. Quiet score from him, but not a lot of minutes in that one. Anyway, guys, that is my recap done and dusted. So hopefully you've done well in your head-to-head finals here. If you're playing for overall, next week's very important. So let's make sure we nail it. We'll finish strong for the year. I do want to thank you all as well for being here all year. I've absolutely loved doing this with you guys. We've had such a year of highs and lows, ups and downs. It's been a total roller coaster. But I got to say, it's been a lot of fun all the way through. So hopefully your season went well. I'll see you next week, and let's get ready for 2025 and do even better next year. Peace out, guys.